Welcome into another episode of The Raging Buffalo. We got a new camera look over here. The overhead suggested by Jon Simon, along with me, Derek Kramer. And let's get right into it because the Buffalo Bills take on the New England Patriots on Saturday. And my boy, Mark Schofield, is on the line with us to talk about the Patriots and the Bills game here that actually has some form of ramifications this late in the season for the first time since...
Ever, I would argue.
Probably ever. Mark, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, gentlemen. Great to be with you today. Obviously a big one this weekend.
It is, and it's strange to be able to say that right now with the way that these two defenses. It seems like these teams have a similar style to them, where they both have very strong defenses, and the offenses leave more times than not a lot to be desired.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair point. I mean, especially when you look at the New England Patriots right now. You know, it's very similar in a sense to where they were this time last year. You know, we weren't quite aware of how good their defense was really until they got into the playoffs and made their Super Bowl run. But especially this year, it's their defense, it's their special teams that have been carrying them. A lot of question marks on the offensive side of the ball. And you could say something similar for Buffalo. We know what their defense has done. We know what their defense has done in the past couple of years under Sean McDermott against Tom Brady. And we've seen their offense, you know, start to grow a little bit under Brian Dable, under Josh Allen this year. And so for both teams, it's really the strength of both franchises right now is that defensive side of the football.
So what's up with Tom Brady? I mean, the man has really kind of, for the most part, throughout this season, shown his age and the struggles of the offense so far this year, Mark, with the Patriots. It's been, I don't know if it's necessarily been either hyped up enough or brought enough to attention because of the fact that New England is still the number 2 seed in the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Brady's struggling right now, and there are a number of factors that are at play here that have led to the offense's struggles. I think in a sense, you know, there are questions on the offensive line that have started to get sort of ironed out, but they're playing with a backup left tackle to start the year. You know, they were down to their third-string center for a period of time, although they got their backup, James Ferenc, back last week. You know, so there have been some protection problems. There have been some problems at the other skill positions. You know, you look at Edelman, you look at White. Yes, those guys can contribute, but he's trying to get on the same page with rookies in N'Keal Harry and Jacoby Myers. He's trying to get on the same page with the recently acquired Mohamed Sanu. So there's been a feeling out process. But Tom Brady has shown signs of age. He's sometimes a little bit more jittery in the pocket. He's missed some throws that he usually hits. And I do think that there is something to the right elbow injury. I wasn't quite sure whether it was real or some of the weeks where he would miss a day of practice with the injury report of the right elbow, whether it was more load management thing or anything like that. But last week, before that game against the Bengals, Mike Giardi, who covered the Patriots for years before making the move over to the NFL Network, said in pregame warmups he was clearly, you know, trying to work out that elbow. He was shaking the arm after a lot of throws, and he intimated that he put in a tweet that the right elbow injury is real. He took a direct hit to it in that Kansas City game. You know, he's been dealing with it this week. Bill Belichick in the media press conference this week said that there have been some practices where, you know, he hasn't been able to do too much of anything. So I do think when you see him miss some throws, I do think the elbow has played a role in it. So you put all these factors together, guys, and it's led to a passing game that has struggled, an offense that is trying to figure out what they can do well. They're trying to get N'Keal Harry involved. You saw some of that against the Bengals last week with some end arounds and some jet sweeps and some things like that. So they're trying to piece it together, but they're running out of time to, quote, get the offense right, close quote.
Mark, you mentioned, you know, this offense and the receiving core and Julian Edelman and James White kind of being those veterans that Brady leans on in certain situations where it just might be needed. But Edelman, you know, there's still questions surrounding, you know, his health, if he'll even play on Saturday against the Bills. If he's not in that game, I mean, how much does that take away from this offense? You know, like you said, is the next best option really N'Keal Harry, who, you know, for being a first-round pick, some might think is slow to kind of develop in this offense?
Yeah, it's a fascinating question. And because with the way this offense is right now and with where Tom Brady is in his career, I mean, Julian Edelman is 9 times out of 10 the first look he's going to have on a play. And that's just kind of the way this offense is right now. They do so much through Edelman, And teams have sort of figured it out. I mean, you can go back to their win in Washington back in October, I believe. They started bracketing Edelman. They were using, buzz safeties, dropping over to the middle to take away those crossers that Brady loves to throw to Edelman. And if he can't go, or if he can go, he's hurting. He's been dealing with a chest and a shoulder injury all season long. Against Cincinnati, he certainly didn't seem like himself. He had a false start penalty, which is something you don't see from him. And so if he can't go, or if he's still limited, it really restricts what they can do as an offense. They're trying to get, N'Keal Harry involved, but he doesn't have the same route tree that Edelman has. He doesn't have the route running discipline that Edelman has. He doesn't have the ability to get off of press coverage the way Edelman can. For a slot receiver type, Edelman has shown the ability over the years to get away from press coverage, to beat tight coverage, to, wiggle free on some of the routes that he runs. N'Keal Harry, prior to, the Kansas City game or the Bengals game, his biggest play this year was a play where he ran a slant route, couldn't get any separation, and got intercepted, and he got banished to the bench as a result. And so Edelman's, if he can't go, that's going to be another big, setback for this offense. They'll try to get N'Keal Harry involved. You'll see Philip Dorsett. You'll see Jacoby Myers. But, if Edelman can't go, Brady's going to have a tough time there. And he's going to have a tough time Saturday anyway, because this is a Buffalo defense that you look back at Tom Brady's splits by team, since 2017, the Bills have made life for him the hardest. I mean, 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions since Sean McDermott came over, a completion percentage of 60.5, which is below his career average. I mean, all his splits against Buffalo since 2017 are bad. They've frustrated him. They've pressured him. And if he can't have Edelman to throw to, it's going to make life that much harder for him.
Well, you mentioned, how solid this Buffalo defense is, and if they're, Edelman's not in there, that definitely takes something out of New England's receiving game. If Brady does have to rely on the run, I see Sony Michel's kind of been up and down this year. I know he had a bounce-back game against Cincinnati last week, rushed for 90 yards on 20 carries, I think it was, maybe 19 carries. And from listening to things about, from New England fans and from media, Michel's the type of running back where he might not start off hot, but you just have to kind of keep giving him the ball. I know that this Bills defense had struggled defending the run earlier this year. Is there a possibility that this game, we could see the Patriots run game have some success against this Bills defense that didn't do well against the run earlier this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think the recipe is in place. You look back at Week 16 last year, and I remember after that game, sitting down doing my show, and I wasn't convinced that the Patriots had enough in the passing game to make a run. But they got the ground game going with Sony Michel, and it sort of set the stage for what they were going to do in the playoffs with, Michel running behind James Devlin. And I think, the name James Devlin, that's an understated part of why the Patriots are struggling to run the football, because Sony Michel was much more confident in his reads and his decisions and his carries when he was running behind the Patriots fullback, who they lost to injury earlier this season. The Patriots relied on 21 personnel when James Devlin a ton in the run game, and they don't have him right now. And yeah, they get the ground game going a bit last week, but Cincinnati's given up 156.7 yards per game on the ground, and part of that is because they're 1-12 teams run against them to run up the clock, but they're giving up 4.9 yards per carry as well. And so most teams could get their ground game going against Cincinnati, I think. But I do think that whether Edelman can go or not, they're going to try to get the ground game going. They're going to try to get Sony Michel going. You'll see them work Rex Burkhead in as well. Burkhead had a 33-yard touchdown run against the Bengals, which is the longest run of his career. So they'll try to get the ground game going. They'll try to limit what Tom Brady has to do. But I still think that, this game aside, if the Patriots want to get to where they want to go, they're going to have to get something out of this passing game down the stretch.
Now, Mark, we go turning a little bit of our attention to this Patriots defense that has been one of the most consistent and better units of the league this year. And it's, again, we're seeing 2 top 3 defenses once again facing each other. And now they've got an entire season's worth of work. It's no longer early in the season. These teams, both of these defenses have been spectacular all the way throughout. It starts with Stephon Gilmore on the other side, but a loaded secondary that is getting contributions from everywhere. And other than that, I mean, quite honestly, I don't watch many Patriots games, mostly because they make me angry, Mark. But the rest of this defense, though, has been fantastic, and I don't know what's going to be more frustrating, to see the Bills' offense against the Patriots' defense, or a Patriots fan watching their offense against the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, both of these defenses are great. And like you said, it really does start with Stephon Gilmore. But I think it really has to sort of start with their secondary, because Belichick has the trust in the guys in the secondary that they can play bad matchups. They can pick a skill set in a receiver, match up a best skill set from their point of view and a defensive back, and play man coverage across the board. Now, the trick this week is going to be the fact that Jonathan Jones is out. And back in week 4, he drew the assignment of Cole Beasley. Jones is kind of a twitchy athlete. You know, they've used him on Tyreek Hill at times. They used him to spy Josh Allen at times. They used him to spy Lamar Jackson at times. But he's out. And so they're going to have to figure out a way to sort of cover Cole Beasley at times, whether it's a Jason McCourty, whether it's a J.C. Jackson, whether we see Juwan Williams, their second-round pick, the rookie out of Vanderbilt, play more of a role. That all remains to be seen. But their secondary and the trust that Belichick has in those guys usually enables them to play the matchups that they want, to pick the coverage matchups that they want, to then fill in the rest of the pieces around it. They don't, have a guy that's going to win off the edge dominant style. They scheme pressure. They'll bring blitzes. We saw it back in week 4 where they went cover 1 blitz, cover 0 blitz. The second quarter missed to Beasley on that corner route. That was a 0 blitz situation. So, if they can get the matchups they want in the secondary, which they've been able to do this year, that leaves them comfortable and confident to bring some of those blitzes to get after quarterbacks and to pressure guys like Josh Allen.
And also, we mentioned this with Jonathan Jones and Josh Allen, the fact that Jones took Allen out of that game with a heavy hit that made some Bills fans angry. It was just a hit to me at that point. But with that comes fourth quarter Josh Allen, which we were unfortunately robbed of in that game. I would have liked to see what that could have become for the Bills-Patriots game for that one. Josh Allen, in your opinion, for what his second season has been, Mark, you love studying quarterbacks. I trust you with pretty much anything that you say in that regard, your opinion on passers. What's it been like? What are your thoughts on Josh Allen coming to the end of season 2?
Yeah, it's interesting, because if you were to think back to Josh Allen during his draft process, and everybody, myself included, said, look, say what you want about where he should be picked, but if you're trying to project him into an offense, you want to think about, what he'll be as a passer in the NFL. You would think he's going to be a downfield passer, adept at the vertical game because of the big arm and his ability to push the ball downfield. And he's missing on that stuff. He's more of a timing and rhythm-based passer right now, which is something I never thought I'd be able to say about him, but that's what he's transformed himself into. And what was interesting for me this week and getting ready for this game was taking a chance to look back at that week 4 game and then comparing where he was then to where he is now, looking at that game against the Steelers. And, I'll just give a quick example. You look at that, the first interception he threw back in week 4, he was trying to throw a post route to John Brown, working from right to left out of a bunch to the right, cover 2, so you had 2 deep safeties. You want to throw that post route to split the safeties. And other than a quick cursory glance to the left, he stared at John Brown the entire route. And so Devin McCourty, the backside safety, was just reading his eyes, and his eyes led him right to the football. He never had to move, never had to worry about anything else. And then you go to his game against the Steelers, and whether it was the interception through Beasley's hands, he was looking off that. He was looking to the right before coming to the left to throw that. You look at the touchdown to Croft at the end of the game, he's looking off the safety, looking to his left before hitching and throwing to the right. And so he's gotten better using his eyes. And I don't know whether that's, in watching him throughout the season, I've noticed that. So I think it's not just he was worried about the Patriots and wanted to play perfect football. I think it's just a progression and a sign of his development. And so when you hear the old phrase, these two teams are different, this isn't the Josh Allen you saw in week 4, I think there is some certain truth to that aspect to it, because he has seemed to have gotten better with his mind, gotten better with his eyes, and I think that the Patriots won't have as many opportunities for turnovers as they had back in week 4.
Mark, before we let you go here, I want to take the focus kind of off the field, and I'm trying to get somewhat of a pulse of Pats Nation right now. Like we said, this is unfamiliar territory for us as Bills fans, as people in Buffalo. We haven't had a game against the Patriots that matters this late in the season in so long. But on the other side, you guys are always in this position late in the year, but Buffalo isn't one of those teams that's kind of nipping it at their heels. Is the feeling different now? Is Pats Nation, I'll say it, are they worried about the Bills?
I think, John, like, you look at where the Patriots are right now, I think you could divide Patriots fans into one of two groups. There's a group that says, look, they've been here so many times. We saw this last year where they were struggling on offense and they couldn't figure it out. Whether it was the Week 16 win against Buffalo when I myself was like, I don't think this passing game is good enough, or some other indicators throughout that season, they still figured it out. They got gelled at the end. They figured out what they could do on offense. They were good enough on defense, and they made their run. And so there are those that still are believers in the fact that they'll do it again. They'll piece it together. They'll find a way to make it work. They'll get enough from their offense. Their defense is great. You look around, and you really trust in Lamar Jackson to beat you twice. You've shown you can beat Patrick Mahomes. Like, you look around the West of the AFC. They'll figure it out. They'll be fine. But there's that second group, and this group is getting bigger and bigger in numbers, that is like, look, yeah, they've been there before. Yeah, they've figured it out before. This is a different situation. They're hurt. They're banged up. And you look around the league right now, and yes, their defense is great, but their offense is nowhere close. And even if they get into a game where they, hold Lamar Jackson to 28 points, or hold Patrick Mahomes to 24 points, or hold the Buffalo Bills to 20 points this weekend, do you think their offense can score enough? Do you really? And do you think you're going to get a blocked punt or a short field interception as many times as they've needed over these past couple of games to get things right? And then you look at Tom Brady. You take a look at, again, his game-by-game numbers since that 2017 season. You look at some of his worst games by yards per attempt and adjusted yards per attempt. They've come in the past couple of weeks. This is a trend now. It's not just he's had a couple of bad games. It's a trend. And so that second group is growing in number, and I find myself more in that second group than the first group. They've figured it out before, but this is different. This is a new feeling. It does seem like that window is closing. It might not be shut. They could still probably piece it together and make some kind of run here, but there is that sense that this might be it. This might be the sort of last ride here, which is why, look, you might say that, New England's still probably going to win the division, and the AFC East isn't really handing the balance. New England needs to bye. They need that bye week badly because they need to get Edelman healthy. They need to get Brady healthy. I don't think this is a team built to win 3 straight just to get to a Super Bowl. They need to get healthy. They need Brady rested. So they need this win. They need to hold off Kansas City for that second spot, and they need to rest up because they need to get healthy fast.
I gotta say, that's music to our ears, kind of hearing that, that second camp, like you said, is growing more and more by the day. It might not be good
more and more
out
every
there.
day, my friend.
Now, I personally don't wish you any sort of pain in the fandom, Mark, but you've also got last year's Super Bowl as of the most recent thing, so it's time to share.
Yeah,
maybe.
I mean, look, they've had a great run. They've had a great run, and all things do come to an end. And we do know that Father Time is undefeated, and maybe Brady's going to end up taking him the distance, but Father Time's going to win at the end. So, if this is sort of the beginning of the end, or the middle of the end, or the end of the end, like, we'll move on. The Jarrett Stidham era will begin, and we'll just kind of hope for the best here in New England.
All right, Mark. First off, tell everyone where to find your work, because you're everywhere, brother.
Yeah, I mean, first off, thanks for having me, guys. Best ways to find me is on Twitter at Mark Schofield, but life in places like Inside the Pylon, Pro Football Weekly, Matt Waldman's Rookie Scouter Portfolio, 3 different SB Nation websites, Big Blue View, Bleeding Green Nation, and Pat's Pulpit.
Like I said, he's everywhere.
Yeah, Mark, please, no need to thank us. We owe all the thanks to you for taking
honored.
some time to chat with us.
Yeah, you're jumping on a baby podcast here, and we appreciate your time.
No, of course, guys, anytime.
You're giving us legitimacy, just like the Bills will get legitimacy when they beat the Patriots on Saturday. How do we like that?
There you go. There you go.
All right. Well, I can't talk to you, Mark, without going ahead and giving you one good reference. That's what I appreciate about you.
That's what I appreciate about you, my friend.
All right. Mark, thanks for taking the time, man. And, well, I hope your weekend is not as stressful as it's going to be probably for us.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks again, man. Have a blast. Enjoy it.
Thanks,
All right.
Mark. You too.
Thanks, bro. It's always fun talking to Mark Schofield. It really is.
He's the best.
He's one of the better people out there in the Twitterverse. And as he said, he's on 3 different publications with SB Nation. He's got Inside the Pylon. Like, he does a lot of work. Like, Mark Schofield is everywhere. And y'all need to figure it out. If you want to actually get some good insight on the Patriots, he's a good guy to go to about that. Notice we did not ask one question about the cheating,
No.
about anything like that. Why? Because I respect Mark.
Yeah.
I don't want to take his time about that stuff because he's gonna cringe. Because he's gonna be like, oh, dang it.
While you and I are
he's
all
not gonna
about-
defend it. He'll just go, oh man.
I gotta answer this again. I was gonna say, while you and I are all about nonsense, we're two kind of just goofballs, I would say.
Welcome to the Raging Buffalo, by the way.
In lighter terms, but yeah, we don't need to bring up that sort of stuff with him.
Did you see me in the last 2 videos?
It just doesn't matter. What matters is, this is a very, very important game. This is the most important game I think I can honestly say I've ever watched as a Bills fan. This feels more important than the Jacksonville playoff game.
I would say the Steelers' 3rd string game was kind of important.
Yeah, but I was a little too young for that still.
Yeah.
I was only 8 years old, 7 years old then.
Back in my day, I was a teen when that game happened.
This feels more important than the Jacksonville playoff game, and this feels more important than the game last week against Pittsburgh. And I feel like before tomorrow, those are the 2 most important Bills games I have watched and remember watching and being a part of.
And yet, with that said, this is house money still.
Right.
Like, all of this at this point is house money. And that's the beautiful thing about this is that I joked that there was going to be stress with this game. Of course there is, because I don't like seeing New England win games.
Yeah.
They're really annoying to me, but Mark's great. That's why I talk to Mark, because there's no, ridiculousness with defending things from the team. He's a real person there. Like, he's saying, yeah, that offense is struggling. Yeah, I'm more in that second group of fans. Love that. Yeah, no,
Love that.
He's in that second group where the people are like, I don't know if they're going to pull it together here for this one. They need that bye week. Mark's real. That's why I like talking to Mark about that. But the big thing here is that, yeah, I'm going to be pissed if they lose because I just hate New England. And the fact that they've won twice in the last who knows how many, it's too many times that I lose to New England where I want it. I want to win. Miami every other year gets a plucky win against them, or the Jets will randomly beat them, and it's the Bills, nope, you don't get any of that. Why not us? Why don't we get that? That's not fair. And this is going to be one of those, because this team is legit at this point. The defense, I would say in particular, is legit. And I'm pretty sure, this is Wood, I think,
partially
not
Wood.
sure. Josh Allen's not going to throw 3 picks again.
No.
I hope.
He's been a lot better with that. What was the Steelers game? That was his first interception. What was it? 8 games, or only second in the last 8
Yeah, it
games?
was second in the last 8 games, and he threw 3 in the New England game.
Yeah, he's trending up while the Patriots are trending down. This is as good a time as any, I would say, for Josh Allen to have a really good game.
And that's why, despite the fact we're playing with house money, I'm still going to be upset if they lose this game, because oh, hey, you had a chance. Oh, no. My headphones fell off.
I was going to say this, too. You know what's going to happen is the Patriots are going to split these last 2 games. I can't tell you which way, but either way, it's going to make us just super, super angry and make us want to rip our hair out, because they're either going to lose to the Bills and then say, well, we got to make sure that these guys still don't win the division. We have to try against Miami. Or they're going to beat the Bills, and then they're going to go, you know what, all right, maybe we can take the foot off the gas against the Dolphins.
Yeah, because watch Kansas City lose, and then they can just lock up the AFC East. I mean, the first round bye with.
But that's what Mark actually reassured me about, is that New England really, really needs this bye. They don't just care about winning the division and getting home field for one playoff game. They need it for, they need that bye to get Edelman back healthy, get some things in order. But like Mark said, this is a team that's struggling. This could be finally the end of this run for them. And it's not just because I don't feel that way just because, the Bills can beat them, but this is also a very, very tough AFC. I don't think they can beat the Ravens, and I don't think that their offense is good enough to outscore Kansas City's anymore. So Mark brought up that point about them really needing the bye and really needing that home field, and I think that puts more pressure on this Patriots team than, I won't say that they're used to having because they're always in high-pressure situations,
Yeah.
but I think that with not having the team that might be capable enough to get them through that high-pressure situation, I think this is the time where things might, really starting to be caving in around them.
Yeah, no, but the other beautiful thing about it is what the Bills have been doing. And part of that has been, first off, we haven't done a video about the Bills clinching the playoffs as fast as they have since 1991, which is historical in its own right. The other thing about it is that, how good they have been throughout this season, doing the things that we've asked them, not right away, but they've done it. Don't trip up against Cincinnati. Okay, we got you. Okay, you kept it close with New England. That's cool.
Don't lose in Tennessee.
Don't lose in Tennessee. We got you. It didn't look pretty, but they did it. And then it's okay, we need some style points from you guys. Okay, here's a 3-week stretch where we dominate Miami, Denver, and Dallas, which that third one, you're okay, can you beat the team that's over 500? Yeah, we got you. No problem. Done. And that's the part that I love about this is that they've eventually done what we've asked of them. Now we've got one more. Can you beat New England?
Can they? That's the question. That's the big question. And I think that they can. I think everybody feels that this is the right time to do it. New England, like I said, is trending down, and the Bills, in almost every aspect, are trending upward. Yeah, and like I said, it's going to come down to the running game. I think Sony Michel is going to be the guy that we really have to worry about in this game because he's boom or bust. He has games where he rushes for 85-plus yards, and then I'm looking at his stats. He rushed for 8 yards against Kansas City.
Yeah, I know.
So I think that's what it's going to come down to is the Bills rush D versus Sony Michel.
If you can't tell by the deadpan look on my face right now, he may or may not have been on a couple of my fantasy teams this year.
Are you in a situation where you need him to do well on Saturday?
No.
Good.
No. Because I had Sony Michel this year. My running back position was oftentimes burning me. Why? Because Michel would get 8 yards.
It happens, man. It happens.
I appreciate it. I needed those 8 yards. God damn it.
But that's the thing. I think I said to Mark, some of the things I've read on Twitter, and I listened to a different show where one of the hosts is a Patriots fan. He talks about Michel is the type of running back where he does have those quiet games, but you just have to keep giving him the ball and giving him the ball and giving him the ball, and eventually, he's going to break through. So if this Bills defense can just put up a front first quarter, we're not going to let Michel, break through this. We're just going to let him struggle. If they can lock down the run game, if New England beats them in the passing game tomorrow on Saturday, that's fine. Let them beat you through the passing game. It's Tom Brady. If he somehow decides to have one of his best games of the season tomorrow, which very well could happen, folks. He likes to beat the Bills. It's well known.
We could then chalk it up
There's
to,
proof.
well, Brady likes beating the Bills.
Or we can chalk it up to he's saving himself for big games. Mm-hmm. And this is a big game for him, which, again, I asked Mark, it's very unfamiliar territory. I'm not used to the Bills being in a playoff situation or, playoff seeding situation with the Patriots this late in the season.
Yeah, that's the other thing. This isn't just a playoff situation anymore. They're looking for seeding, which is bizarre for us. We're not used to that.
I can't even fathom having a first round bye or a home playoff game.
Yeah.
I can't.
But yet somehow that's in the discussion right now. That's the beauty of all of this, is that it's faint, but we have a legitimate discussion about a faint possibility here. We're usually thinking that because we're optimists. No, there's actually mathematical implications here. If the Bills beat the Patriots, we actually have to put our trust in Ryan Fitzpatrick, which I don't know what that says about us, but, but at the same time, it's something that could be real. That's the problem that I think that, not the problem, but that's the newest aspect of this, is that we don't know how that feels to have actual mathematical probabilities of a home playoff game. That is where the beauty in all of it is.
I'm just looking at the playoff picture right now, just trying to figure out how things would work out if for some reason the Patriots did not win the division. The Bills did, and they managed to get into that first-round bye. The Patriots, I mean, they're going to have to go to Houston or Kansas City, two teams that they've gotten beat by this year. And I don't think that they want that.
Yeah.
So that's why Mark said, like, they really need – and
they don't even want to be the 3 seed from what Mark's saying. Like, you don't want to have to deal with an extra game right now because can you trust them to beat 3 teams?
A Patriots-Pittsburgh first-round game would be really not fun to watch.
I mean, it wasn't at all to start the season.
Right.
But
and this is a completely different Pittsburgh team now.
Yeah.
Their defense is actually good, and their offense is still just pretty mediocre.
And it's interesting because they frustrated Ben Roethlisberger right away to start the year, and it's like, oh, good, same old Patriots here. Great, we're just not going to have nice things. And then the Patriots' offense has kind of devolved into this problem unit for the team almost. And I think it's more or less this is where I am with the Bills. It's tough to carry another unit through an entire postseason.
Yeah.
And that's where New England is. New England has the same problem. Like Pittsburgh has the same problem. It's tough to carry an entire unit all the way through. Houston even. I would say it's just vice versa. The offense carries the defense more times than not.
I'd argue it's the same case for Kansas City.
And Kansas City, the same thing. Like the defense tends to have some decent games. That's why Baltimore's the most dangerous.
Yeah.
They have a top 5 defense, and they have one of the best offenses in the league.
They're the only complete team in the AFC playoffs.
And that's where the problem lies. And, yeah, anything happens. Like, teams do lose football games. But, you know, at the same time, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, well, I don't expect the Bills to make a deep run. I don't. I think that they can win a playoff game, matchup dependent. But am I thinking they're going to go all the way through? No. They're going to be one of 31 teams that has their season end in heartbreak. But I also really think that that's the Patriots too.
Yeah. Like Mark said, this is a team that, you know, they just don't have the right identity right now. They're not built to win 3 straight games just to get to the Super Bowl, you know, and whoever does get to the Super Bowl, they're going to be playing a really good team from the NFC. I mean, I think the NFC 6 playoff teams, whoever they may be, are top to bottom better than the 6 teams from the AFC. So whatever, I mean, it's looking very far ahead. But, you know, like you said, this is such a it's just such a tough thing to call. And the other thing that the Patriots are probably thinking is this is a measuring stick game for them. Because they're probably thinking, like you said, the Bills are similar to the Steelers in a way where their defense sometimes carries the offense. The Patriots are the same way as that. So if the Patriots can see where do we stack up against a team that's pretty much the same as we are right now that will also be in the playoffs, where does that fit us into this whole playoff picture? Where do we stand amongst these playoff teams in the AFC? Because if they get beat by the Bills, they might be thinking, are we really the 5th best team in the AFC playoffs right now? Like, it'll be seeding-wise, but also just talent and the capability to win games.
Like an actual self-reflection.
Right. Are they the 5th best team? Because that would be, I mean, talk about unfamiliar territory.
You want to talk about a meltdown of a fan base. That might be it because they're this is why I like talking to Mark. And I try to separate him as much as I possibly can. The arrogance of their fan base to end up the 5th seed.
And just this is possibly the breaking of this dynasty, this, you know, run that the Patriots are on. It'd be great if the Bills can kind of start that, you know, if they're the ones to knock them out of the division title and knock them out of getting home field. Even if the Bills don't win the division, if they can knock the Patriots out of getting home field, I think that makes the rest of the world, let alone the AFC, very, very satisfied. And, you know, I'm just thinking about what Mark says, that they're not built to get through the playoffs and beat 3 teams because this AFC playoff run is going to be very, very tough. You know, there's one team that can hang with the Ravens offensively, I think, and that's Kansas City. But their defense might not be able to stop the Ravens from scoring over 40 points. You know, the Texans' offense might be able to stay with Kansas City and Baltimore, but I don't think that their defense can stop either of those teams. You know, so it's all very tough, but what it comes down to, Derek, is that I really feel like this is the weekend that the Bills finally break the Patriots, and this is the first domino to fall of the true collapse in New England, because whenever they get knocked out of the playoffs this year, I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl. Whenever they get knocked out of the playoffs this year, that's going to be when the fan base goes nuts.
Yeah, and the other thing about it, I just love the fact that once the Patriots fan base goes nuts, like it's almost like it's such a small victory for us, but it's a victory because there's such an inferiority complex with Bills fans now, especially with New England because of all the championships that Boston wins and everything like that. Why does it always have to be Boston?
The whole country hates them. The whole country is behind the Bills. The Bills beat Dallas, and now they are America's team. That's just how it works.
I mean, yeah, that's usually isn't that how the rules work? You beat America's team, you are America's team?
Yeah.
Right? Someone correct me on that. But no, it's been uncharted territory a lot of the time through the season because we're used to a Bills team tripping up against Miami and not being able to turn it around, or not being able to beat a team against Pittsburgh in prime time with a playoff spot on the line, or going to Dallas in Thanksgiving, and usually they just get the train run on them.
Yeah.
We're not used to this. We're not used to the success that they're doing everything with right now because we're used to, what is it? The term. Oh, the Billsy loss. There's that Billsy loss.
And they still did it this year, but they bounced back, which is important.
Yeah, the Cleveland game. And that one was probably easily the most frustrating game of the entire season. But what did they do? They adjusted. They took their offensive coordinator, put him up top, and things have actually looked pretty good from there overall since that move was made. So they're actually willing to adjust things. They are not safe with the status quo anymore. They want to push the envelope as far as they can with this team. And that is what I like about Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott, with this one vision that they share with the organization. Now, if only the Sabres can share that.
That's a whole different topic.
I don't want to
ruin. I don't want to ruin
another
this.
podcast. Not for today.
We can't ruin this positive day that we're having with
yes,
negative Sabre stuff.
Yes, I know, and that's for another podcast. Trust me. But going into this with the Bills Patriots game, it really is just like it's cool to be able to think about the fact that they really do have an opportunity here in front of them to not just make even more noise, but every time that they've done this, every time that the stage has been set for this team to actually make some noise in the rest of the league, they have passed. That's the biggest thing about this team. Every opportunity that they've had on a bigger stage, they have passed. What does passing mean here? Well, I think ultimately for us, I would say it's beating New England. Whether it means winning the AFC East or not is not my problem anymore. I'm not going to trust Miami to do it, to help finish the job. What I am going to do is I'm going to trust that the Bills could beat New England by themselves. Become an 11-win team in one of the more, I guess, heading into the season, questionable ways possible. Hey, you get to 11 wins because you beat the New England Patriots. If anyone were to say that to me before the season, I'd be like, stop it. Stop it. Don't get my hype button. Don't get the hype button up for me right now. I'm not ready yet. But now I'm like, okay, do it. Get to win number 11 against the New England Patriots because they can.
Yeah, in the past, I was always there for silver linings and consolation prizes against New England.
Like the first game.
First time in a while, maybe ever, that there's no consolation prize for this. There is no positive takeaways. It's win the game or lose the game.
For me, the only positive I could take out of it is kind of like the Baltimore game, which was, okay, you have two good teams. One of them has to lose.
One of them is, I will say, it's significantly better.
Yes, but
in this game, neither side is significantly better.
Yeah, but I can always go ahead and look at that and go, there's two good teams here. One of you has to lose this game. And unfortunately, most times, with the Baltimore game for me, it's, unfortunately, it was the Bills. That's unfortunately what happens. Two good teams come in, one comes out. All right, John. Last part of this podcast, we're going to do something that you've done already.
Oh.
Yes. I got 5 pieces of paper.
Oh.
Welcome back to the second part of Habanero Hot Takes draft.
Wow.
That's right. So, last time you saw Habanero Hot Takes, yours truly was in there with Frank Arcuri and Connor Priester, and the three of us handled that pretty much okay. Now, there are 5 different names on that list. One of them actually being the original moderator and idea man of Habanero Hot Takes and Scott Gaddy. So, Scott, you're on that paper now.
I'm shuffling these as you speak.
So the names are Lucas Buckley, Justin Lamont, Scott Gaddy, Zach Jones, and Kyle Powell. Those are your 5. Get ready, boys, because John's going to snag 3 of them in real time right now, video proof.
I'm snagging 3. Oh, wow. I have to do the picking. Okay.
I mean, they're right in front of you, or you just hand them to me and I'll read them.
I'm shuffling these up. You know what I want to do? Here's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
You're not one of the names on here, right?
No,
I wasn't listening to you when you were listening. I just have to apologize for that.
No, you were shuffling. You were
I
doing a very
shuffled
important
them,
job.
And I lined them up now.
Okay.
I
So you
want
want me to-
you to pick a number
Okay.
from left to right. So from my left to my right, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So like this. Okay.
Yes.
Give me 2, 3, and 5.
I'm going to do this slowly so it adds suspense.
So number 2.
Zach Jones. Congratulations, Zach.
So
Maybe.
Zach was just in our Star Wars episode. The two of us just spent 2 hours just riffing on Star Wars. So we'll do a reaction video of that too if Zach can recover.
Number 2. Well, actually, it was number
Number
3,
three.
but second selection, Lucas Buckley.
Oh no!
We like Lucas.
Luke was in the original draft video of the first Habanero Hot Takes. Now he's going to be a part of it.
I am very much looking forward to watching him do that. And your last pick, number 5, Scott Gaddy.
And Scott, the originator of the idea, is now going to be a victim. Here
Kyle
it
and
is.
Justin,
Kyle
you
and
made it out
Justin,
alive.
you've made it out alive, and you may be facing a repeat person for the next opportunity. Because at that point, I think like 2 of them have to be shoehorned in at that point, right? If you avoid it twice.
I don't make the Habanero Hot Takes rules, man. I'm just along for the ride.
And, I mean, to your credit, you were also probably the only person that said, no. Hey, do you want to do this stupid idea? No.
I mean, I'd love to be a part of it. I'll be a moderator one day. I don't think I would be able to control myself with the heat. There's an
First off, you're talking to the patron saint here, okay?
There's an old video of me at a wing fest, like 2012, 2013 maybe, tried a really hot wing, and the expletives go flying shortly afterwards.
First off, if you watched Habanero Hot Takes, you would know that was me. Okay? Like, that was literally me. What you described was me. So you could do it for the entertainment factor, but if you're not going to do it...
One day
you're
we'll
just-
get there.
There it is.
One day.
John will get there. And I'm not mad at him for it. I'm actually kind of impressed because he did the smart thing, which was, hey, you want to do this thing? No.
That sounds silly.
So there it is. End of the episode here. Thanks for watching here on the Raging Buffalo with the new high angle camera shot. Skycam, courtesy of Jon Simon there. So you can follow Jon Simon.
At jsimon_21.
I am at Derek Kramer 49 on Twitter. I've got thoughts on Star Wars, so if you want to get the opinion there,
I'm
at
looking
me.
forward to it.
And yeah, John's gonna go see that next week,
Day after Christmas.
day after Christmas.
Me and the rent.
I will have seen it twice by then. So personally, I'm saying you're gonna be in for a good one.
I hope
That's
so.
the best. That's the most I'll say right now. Thanks for watching. Hit us with the like. Hit us with the subscribe. Thanks to Mark Schofield
Yes.
for joining us on the first part of this podcast as well. There's other links to videos in the description. And also, finally, last word for you, the 11-day power play. We're back. And my team, the captaincy, is official. The Beer League non-stars are a thing. So we will be facing each other. There will be a draft. Those videos, there will be a mockumentary of the building of the Beer League non-stars on this channel. So be ready for those bits as well. Go Bills.